Clarity Clinical Solutions.
After a successful Phase 3 trial, the most rigorous testing phase in human history, a drug still faces one more hurdle: FDA review. This 6 to 10 month process determines whether a treatment reaches patients. Only about 1 in 10 drugs that enter clinical trials ever receives FDA approval. Welcome to Clinical Research Explained by Clarity Clinical Solutions. The journey to FDA approval takes 10 to 15 years on average. It begins with preclinical testing in the lab and in animals, lasting 3 to 6 years. Then come Phase 1 through Phase 3 clinical trials, another 6 to 7 years. Then, the FDA review, 6 to 10 months. And finally, post-approval monitoring that continues for the life of the drug. The FDA review is the final gate before a treatment reaches patients. The New Drug Application, or NDA, is the sponsor's formal request for FDA approval. It is a massive document containing everything known about the drug. Clinical data from all Phase 1 through 3 trials. Manufacturing details, how the drug is made, quality controls, and facility information. And proposed labeling, including the package insert and patient information. An NDA can contain over 100,000 pages. The FDA assigns a multidisciplinary team to review it. The FDA operates under strict timelines called the PDUFA goal date. Standard review has a target of 10 months from submission to decision. Priority review is faster, 6 months, for drugs that offer significant improvement over existing treatments. About 30% of applications receive priority review. The FDA has 60 days to accept or reject the NDA for filing. If accepted, the review clock starts ticking. A multidisciplinary team examines every application. The medical officer, usually a physician with expertise in the therapeutic area, reviews clinical data and writes the primary review. The statistician evaluates whether the data actually prove the drug works. The pharmacologist reviews animal studies and dosing rationale. The team also includes chemists, microbiologists, and sometimes patient representatives. Every reviewer writes their own assessment. Priority versus standard review. Priority review is granted when a drug offers significant improvement in safety or effectiveness. Target decision, 6 months. About 30% of applications receive this designation. Standard review is the default for drugs similar to existing treatments. Target decision, 10 months. About 70% of applications are standard review. The sponsor can request priority review. The FDA decides whether the drug qualifies based on therapeutic benefit. Advisory committee meetings bring independent experts together to debate the data in public. The sponsor presents their data, the FDA presents its review, and the committee discusses and votes: approve, approve with conditions, or not approve. The FDA is not required to follow the committee's recommendation, but it usually does. A negative vote makes approval very unlikely. These meetings are publicly webcast, adding transparency to the process. After months of review, the FDA issues one of 3 outcomes. Approved, the drug can be marketed for the specified indication. Complete response letter, not a rejection, but a list of deficiencies the sponsor must address before resubmitting. Or rarely, refusal. About 50% of NDAs are approved on first review. Many others receive a complete response letter and resubmit successfully. The FDA approves about half of all new drugs on their first submission. Accelerated approval is a faster path for serious diseases. Instead of waiting for long-term clinical outcomes like survival, the FDA can approve a drug based on a surrogate endpoint, a biomarker or lab value reasonably likely to predict benefit. The sponsor must then conduct confirmatory trials after approval. If the confirmatory trial fails, the FDA can withdraw approval. Many HIV drugs and cancer treatments reached patients years earlier through this pathway. Approval is not the end, it is the beginning of ongoing oversight. Phase 4 trials monitor long-term safety and real-world effectiveness. Labeling may change as new data emerges, the black box warning is the strongest. And some drugs require a REMS program, risk evaluation and mitigation strategies, which may include restricted distribution or patient registries. The FDA can withdraw approval if post-market data reveals serious safety issues. What happens after approval? The sponsor scales up manufacturing and distribution. The FDA inspects facilities periodically. But the FDA does not regulate drug pricing, that is up to the manufacturer, insurers, and pharmacy benefit managers. Medicare negotiation under the Inflation Reduction Act is a recent change. Approval does not guarantee insurance coverage or affordability. The FDA continues to monitor through adverse event reporting systems and periodic safety reviews. The success rate for drug development is sobering. Only about 1 in 10 drugs that enter Phase 1 clinical trials eventually receive FDA approval. For drugs that reach Phase 3, the rate is about 50 to 60%. For NDAs submitted for review, the first cycle approval rate is about 50%. Cancer drugs have the lowest Phase 1 to approval rate at about 5%. Rare disease drugs have higher success rates due to smaller trials and regulatory flexibility. Common misconceptions about FDA approval. Myth: the FDA tests drugs itself. Fact: the FDA reviews data submitted by the sponsor, it does not conduct its own clinical trials. Myth: FDA approval means the drug is safe for everyone. Fact: approval is for a specific indication and population. Every drug has side effects. Myth: if a drug is approved in another country, it should be automatically approved here. Fact: each country has its own standards. The FDA requires independent review of all data. So here is what we learned. After Phase 3, the sponsor submits an NDA, up to 100,000 pages of data. The FDA assigns a multidisciplinary team to review it. Decision target: 10 months standard, 6 months priority. Advisory committees may weigh in for complex or controversial drugs. Outcomes: approved, complete response letter, or rarely refused. Post-approval monitoring continues for the life of the drug. The FDA approval process is the most rigorous drug evaluation system in the world. Thank you for watching Clinical Research Explained by Clarity Clinical Solutions.